Hello Internet. In this video I will show you how I made this new table for this old contractor table saw. Now this video is part of a series called Table Saw Mods, and you can see the entire playlist in the card here above. And this video is part 1 of 2. Keep watching. Welcome to Scott's Garage. Welcome literally to my garage. Whether it's working on a daily driver or a project car, or a project around the home or the yard or the patio, a pallet project, Scott's Garage is a place for do-it-yourselfers. Everything is do-it-yourself. Welcome to my channel. Now before we begin, if you want to see how I made the dust collection system, very inexpensive but highly effective, see the card here above. And likewise, if you want to see how I changed the motor mount so it doesn't hang outside the table but hangs on the inside of the table, likewise, see the card here above. Okay, what's not shown here is that I purchased two 4x4 by 8 foot timbers and cut them in 32-inch lengths. These are the legs. And what I'm creating here what are called castle joints, and with my vertical holding jig. And both top and bottom, it took a little bit of time, but it actually was pretty easy, just moving the fence a little bit and making the cuts. And here I'm taking 4 of the legs and making some vertical cuts, a couple passes for those 4 legs. I'll explain more about this here in a few minutes. Here I'm painting the legs with the paint I've used in the garage. And here, as far as the framework, I'm taking a stud, which is 2 inches by 3 inches, and ripping it in 2. And this was the perfect size and cheaper than buying 1x3s. Here I'm making the lap joints. I used a digital caliper, divided it in half, marked it, and then you just raise the blade up to that mark. And when I make the cuts here, it'll be a perfect joint. I tripled it up. I'll be using 3 of these boards together, and they're the exact same measurement, so it made it a little bit faster. Here you can see I'm putting it together, the sides with the cross members, and that's how it works. This one overlaps with the other. It fits flush, and this will form the frame. What I'm doing here is working upside down, so this is actually the bottom of the table, and I'm taking a 5/8 inch MDF sheet and cutting out the sections where the legs will go through. So again, I've chosen 6 legs, so this is the center leg, and I'm using my Cobalt jigsaw. Really, for the first time, it works really well. Okay, here, so I'm building the base, and I'm using my nailer as well as putting in some pocket joints just to hold everything together firmly. Here I'm gluing 2 pieces of MDF. One is 3/4 inch, the other is 5/8. And just here using some screws to tack it together. And I let it dry for several days. And here I am removing the screws. Okay, here I'm installing the retractable casters, and I'll tell you more about these later. Really love them. I'll put a affiliate link in the description below, and it was just great to be able to easily move the table around. Here I'm making the framework of the timbers, the half laps for the top part of the table. Same procedure. Here I'm cutting an area out of one of the longer sections. I'll explain more about this later. Sorry my back is turned to you. Using my jigsaw for this. And here I'm using my Cobalt router, and I'm going to be rounding out an edge here just for aesthetic purposes. And again, I'll explain more about this later once I put the table saw in place. Here, just finishing building the frame. Okay, here I'm cutting what's called hardboard, and I'm cutting 2 side sections that will fit in those slots that I cut before. That I said I would explain more later. Okay, I want to show you this, the roughed in top part of this. So pretty much I used castle joints there, and just all the places here. And this will be where the table saw basically sets in place. Once I do that, I'll also be putting some supports down here. This is just a really thin 1/8 inch board for the sides, and I'll probably put a stripping on the bottom or on the inside when it's finished. But I just beefed up center pole, just sandwiching boards, gluing them together, and again the saw will rest in there. And so I'm going to take the 2 sheets of MFD that I glued together, and I'm going to flip it down this way. There's one more sheet of the very thin 8-inch board that will go on top of that, and that will be a sacrificial surface. Okay, I'm lifting in place. I cut that hardboard for top to match the tabletop. And here I am cutting through everything. It's about 1.6 inches thick. I'll be using a combination of my circular saw, the Cobalt, and also the jigsaw Cobalt to do this. I did not want to mess this up. So I started using the jigsaw, then I ended up using my circular saw for the rest of the way. It's the better cut. Okay, jigsaw to finish it, and it popped out. Now the left side was a little bit not as straight as I wanted it to be, and I was able to take the circular saw and just make it straighter here. Okay, here I am using some polyurethane. I like poly. It worked with it for years. Just roll it on. It would soak in to the hardboard. The hardboard by itself is not very stable. Get any moisture and you'll just ruin it. But you put some polyurethane on there. Actually, I put several coats, sanded them in between, and it turns into a very good surface, very beautiful surface, and very durable. Just do this. I probably put 4 coats on total, sanded it. You can see here. Again, put another coat on, and it's good to go. Here I'm putting on the original fencing system. Okay, I was very fortunate when this old contractor saw was given to me that it came with a really high quality fencing system. So this is Biesemeyer, that's how I pronounce it, but just very accurate, very high quality. And to buy this new, I think, is around $1,000, and this was just given to me, and it's worked really well over the years. My old table, though, it was always off by 1 inch. It just wasn't lined up correctly. So this time around, I was able to line everything up exactly with the blade to this notch, and that's 0. So I'm looking forward to using this accurately. I also just cleaned it up over the years. There's been paint and other things on there, grease. So I just used some lacquer thinner and shined it up a little bit. And now on to the next step. Okay, the table saw, the middle part ends here. We have part of the table that I need to route. This is 3/4 inch. So I have everything set. And I'm using my Cobalt cordless router. It's brushless. This is an amazing piece of equipment. This is like the 4th time now that I've used it. But just absolutely love it. I'll do a review on this down the road. But I've already done this side. I have it lined up, and I'll just turn it on. I'm just going to route out what's left here so that when I use this, that it goes all the way through. right, there we go. There we go. Alrighty. Okay, there we go. Alright. Here I'm just touching up on the paint and heating some places I didn't paint before. I'll do this one more time before the project's over. Okay, so here's almost the finished product. In part 2, I'll be building some shelves here and putting in some storage bins kind of in the center section. And then I'll be putting in some cabinet doors on this side and then that side that will open up, and likewise. It'll be open underneath the table saw, but if you can envision that, that'll be part 2. But I want to show you some of the features here of this table saw table. Now this is my own design. So first of all, the castle joints on the bottom and also the top, that's what gives this tremendous strength together with the 4x4s. And the upper part of the bench here is 1.6 inches thick, and you can see that here in the edge. So the 2 layers of MDF, and then this top part. Now this top part, this is really inexpensive stuff. It's called hardboard. You can get a 4x8 sheet for $10 at Home Depot, and this is a sacrificial surface. And what I mean by that is that you can take it off. So you can see here that it lifts up and it goes into place. Now what I'll be doing, and I haven't done it yet, is I'll be putting some 2-way tape underneath this, just simply to hold it down. Now the reason for sacrificial is that as I use this table, as it gets scuffed up in that, it means that I can replace it, and it's relatively inexpensive to replace. So I purposely designed it that way. Now the next thing I want to talk about are the casters here. And so my previous table saw, I had casters on the bottom and you could roll it around, but it was, when you're working on a project and you're pushing wood through a table saw, you don't want the table to move. So that's what I love about these. You can see the link in the description below, the Amazon affiliate link, but these are perfect rating. Each one can lift 800 pounds. So you can see that the table's heavy, but it can easily handle it. And so when I'm using the saw, they'll be in the upright position so that the table sits flat on the concrete floor. But when I want to move it, it's real simple. It's just for each foot, you just push down like that. You do that for all of them, and I can easily move it anywhere that I want to. And I just have 4 of them. So the center one does not have a caster, but it lifts up the whole thing. It's strong enough that it works just fine. Okay, another feature of my design is that I came with this very nice fencing system, and the fence would, the old way it went beyond the table. So I thought you might as well make the table go out as far so it goes out, whatever that is, 4 or 5 inches further, simply to match this, because I want to get it as close to the wall as possible. But if you keep this on there, it makes no sense to have one thing jutting out, but you can't put the whole table there. So that's why I extended the table slightly. As far as dust collection, I'll be using this Vac Master with the 2.5-inch hose. And I'll either be putting it on the left side behind the cabinet door or on the right side behind the cabinet door. I haven't quite decided that yet. Okay, as you look at this angle, may not be the easiest to see, but you can see where I took the jigsaw and I cut up and then around, and then I rounded a nice rounded edge there. And the only reason for that is to give clear access here. That as you are working on the saw, that was the only thing about this design, is that if the board went straight across, it would somewhat cover up the top part. of the adjustment. So this way I can easily reach down there and adjust it, and I don't think I compromised on too much strength. As far as the edge of the table, rather than show pieces of MFD glued together, I had some old oak strips, and I cut them in thinner strips and simply tack them on. I still need to get some putty and fill it in and coat it with some polyurethane. Also, the table saw itself has a chamfered edge, so I tried to match that chamfer edge here, and I mitered the corners. As far as the back side of the table saw table, I'm keeping my options open. I am going to just keep it open. It'll be against the wall anyway for now. But I could see down the road doing more with dust collection and adding a manifold and future tools and that, and adding electrical plugs and all that. But for now, I'm just going to keep it open. As far as future projects, in addition to the cabinet doors and the center shelves for the storage bins and the cabinet door here on the right side, I'll be eventually be putting in a T-track. I'll have a project of building a little table for my compound miter saw, which will sit right next to it over here, a little bit lower so that it's continual here. But I don't want to put it in now, but I'll put a T-track in so that it lines up with the table saw once that is finished. Well, that's it for this video. Hey, if you got any value at all from this video, please give me a like. It costs you nothing, but is a great value to me. And as always, have a great day.